information can be powerful, but I think there's this also information overload. So I really like to go back to listening to our intuition, like getting all the facts. Like before I had my daughter, I was like, I want to have a home birth. I want to do it this way, and I don't want to go to hospital. And my husband was like, "What?" And I'm like, "I don't want to get ultrasounds. I don't want to vaccinate my children." He's like, "What? You're crazy." And then I like took him to all these talks and got him educated. And guess what? His belief changed, and he was crazier than I was. He's like, "Wait, you're going for an ultrasound?" So it was really interesting to see that shift even with him.
That was Ashley Ageloff. Welcome back to the show. I'm Ryan Watkin, your host, and I am so excited you're here for today's episode. Ashley is somebody who I consider a dear friend. We met at a Mommy and Me group, actually Mom Me group, technically, that she organizes. She is a devoted mom, an entrepreneur, and a community builder extraordinaire. She founded Your Limitless Health in 2015, offering thermography and wellness coaching to help others heal and thrive. After having her son in 2023, she launched the wildly popular Mommy group to support moms through connection and self-care. Now she is on to hosting mom summits to help others reset, flourish, and rise. Ashley and I share a really common belief that when moms thrive and rise and flourish, then so do families. And from the minute we met, we were super drawn to each other. Many of our missions align, and I'm just so excited to have her on the show today. We are just kind of chatting about what makes this elusive motherhood village that everyone talks about that feels like it's not actually a thing. It feels make-believe. And so Ashley and I are really diving into the conversation today to figure out how can we answer some of these questions? How can we figure out where our community is, how to find our tribe, how to get the support we need, and how to be healthy, calm, and flourishing in the process. Should be a super easy question to answer, right? So without further ado, let's just jump into my conversation with my dear friend, Ashley. Just kidding. One more thing before we officially get started. Ashley and I took this conversation to the next level, and we have created a day of self-care, education, and community for you. It's Saturday, October 25th at the 5 Elements Day Spa in Deerfield Beach, Florida. And we have an amazing lineup of speakers, immersive self-care practices, and a hand-curated wellness marketplace with locally owned, women-owned businesses and brands to support your journey no matter what stage of motherhood you're in. I would absolutely love to see you there and give you a hug in real life. You can register for the event now at the link below. We are offering an early exclusive ticket rate just until August 1st. So if you want to join, make sure to get your ticket now. Ashley and I can't wait to see you there. Hello, Ashley. Welcome to the Raising Wild Hearts podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So I did an introduction before we hopped on here. So my listeners know a little bit about you, who you are, where you came from, what you do, and we're going to learn more in this conversation. And I'm so excited because it feels like, well, I am interviewing a friend. And so this is going to be kind of like one of our many conversations that we've had before, just kind of hanging out. And I think maybe we've even said like, where's the mic? We should just like hit record now. And finally, we're doing this. And I am so thrilled. And I just want to share from my heart that I am so grateful that you landed in my life. We moved a year and a half ago to a new city where I really didn't know anybody. And I saw on my social media feed this mommy group with this like holistic health community with different speakers and this and that. And I was like, oh my God, that's what I need. That's what I've been looking for. And lo and behold, it was you who was the host of this beautiful mommy group. And from day one, I felt so welcomed. I know that everybody listening like knows that like new kid feeling of like going up to the kids at lunch and being like, can I sit here? And I came in and I was like, can I sit here? And you and everybody there were like, yes, you have a seat at the table here. And it was and still is such a beautiful experience. And I'm so grateful for you that you are just such a badass at connecting community and being you and showing up in your fullness for this community that you've created. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And it's so interesting because as soon as you walked in that day when I met you, I was like, she has such a bright light energy. And I just wanted to be around you. And then you told me about your podcast and I started listening and we just aligned right away. So I think that that is something that is not a coincidence. I think it was definitely meant to be. So I
It
am
was
grateful
so
as
meant
well.
to be. Yeah, thank you. It was so meant to be. So there's so much that we're going to talk about. And it's interesting because as I was writing some notes for this interview, this concept of village kept coming up for me. This village, village, village. Like, where's the village? There's like funny memes on social media of like everyone says there's a village. Like, where is this village? This is like make believe. This isn't actually a thing. And we all live in our little homes with our little families, and we can feel really isolated because it's just us. Like back in the day, we had mom or grandma living with us. It was like intergenerational homes, and we had support from aunties and mamas and, you know, other women in our families and in our circles and in our tribes. And we're so disconnected from that now in modern society that I'm trying to figure out like where this village is. And I have some of it figured out. And then just when I have it figured out, I don't have it figured out again. And then I need to kind of tweak it and really trust that it will land and just kind of come into place. So the first place I really want to kick off with you is community, because you've created this vibrant community yourself and you are just, I could not do like what you do. You are just like a superhero in my eyes at this community piece. And so how did you come to the place where A, you're great at doing it, and then B, you're like, this is what I need to do? Was it for you? Was it for everybody around you? Was it a little bit of everything? And like, where did that come from?
Yeah, great question. I feel like community has totally transformed my relationship with motherhood. It's interesting. When I had my daughter 6 years ago, I told my husband, I read this book on Kundalini yoga. I know you do Kundalini as well. And I said, I'm going to stay in the house for 40 days and I'm not going to see anyone. No one could come here. You know, it's just going to be me and my little baby. And like, he's like, yeah, okay, okay. So I have Zoe and day 3. And I said, I'm going crazy. I need to talk to an adult and not you. I don't want to talk to you. Like, I need another mom who's, you know, boobs are leaking and like who's going through all these crazy emotions and pelvic floor issues that I'm going through. So I said, take me to this breastfeeding group. I didn't even really need the support, but I just wanted to meet other moms. And I felt so good, like just getting out of the house and being connected with other moms and hearing other moms' struggles and challenges and what they're going through and being able to have compassion for that and empathy and being able to be listened to as well. And it just turned on a whole light for me where I was like, okay, I'm not going to stay in the house for 40 days. And actually at that stage, I was even thinking of creating a group, because I was looking for a group that was small where I can really like build deep connections. And I didn't really find that, but I did go to some newborn groups and connect with a couple moms, you know, who I'm actually still friends with, but it just didn't feel like that vulnerable, deep connection that I was looking for. So when I had Zane, I was like, I really don't want to go running around like I was doing with my daughter. I want to like be home more. I have some mom friends. So that's how I came up with the idea of creating more community through the
Yeah.
groups. Yeah.
Amazing. And I think so much we make what we need, you know? And so it's amazing that you've made really what you needed. And it's so easy to think like, I can do this on my own. I think many of us have been trained to be so independent and to not need support. And that's like, of course, you know, an illusion, but we've been kind of told like, you can do this, you're strong, you can do anything you set your mind to. And for me, I mean, in seeking community, I had like a dark night of the soul that in order for me to actually go and like find other people to like sit in circle with and to really like share what's going on in my life. My oldest was 5 months old, and I was not even into Kundalini yet at that point. So I didn't even know about the 40 days. I didn't know so many things at that point. And I look back on her, that former version of me, and I have so much compassion for her because she was just running out of old programming. She was just doing kind of what she had always done. And at 5 months postpartum, I had an acute anxiety attack, which is what like the medical community would call it, but I would call it a spiritual awakening / like dark night of the soul, where everything just the bottom fell out from underneath me, and I went, oh my God, like what am I gonna do? And with the grace of God, I found a mommy group at our Kabbalah center here in Boca, because we had lived in Boca then too. And that completely shifted my postpartum experience. And it was like better late than never. It was like, okay, I found this and I wish I would have had this 5, 6, 7, 8 months ago, but I have it now. And it was so helpful just to sit there and have adult conversations and see other moms' real experiences. Because at that time, all I had was like kind of looking on social media, which I didn't even know at that point was kind of like toxic and not really helpful. And so I'm seeing all these like mothers in this completely different experience than I was having. And I remember one day I even went to go like put on mascara, and I just like looked in the mirror and I was like, I just don't even like recognize this human in the mirror. And it wasn't that I didn't look good or I felt like I was ugly. It wasn't even that. I just like didn't even know who I was. And so it led me to seek out these, relationships with other people. And it was so helpful just having conversation with people. And one of the things that you're so good at is facilitating these honest, vulnerable, beautiful conversations. You tell everybody to bring a journal, and you share prompts in certain times, and you invite people to really look inside. And that's the whole key, is like looking inside. So how did you come to that conclusion that it's an inside job, that we need to reflect internally to be okay externally?
Yeah, so I've been on this path probably since I'm little. I had a lot of childhood trauma growing up, and when I was 17, I started realizing like, okay, I think I'm okay on the outside, but I'm not okay. So I started seeking, I went to like Landmark Education, which is a self-development course, and Gratitude, which is another one. And I started seeking out all these self-development courses because I wanted to grow and I wanted to be better. And I didn't want to have these old patterns, like you said, like programming continue to come up, which of course it does, but I am way more aware now. And through that, it just like transformed me. I said, okay, this isn't about that. Like what's going on the outside. I mean, even now, our experiences, we can choose to react or respond at any moment, right? Your kid's throwing a tantrum on the floor, like my son did today for an hour. And I could scream at him, or I can say, okay, you know what I mean? And I have so many more tools. But if I was a mom at that age, I would not have had those tools. Because I wouldn't know. You don't know what you don't know. So through this whole process, I have really worked on myself internally so much that I feel like when I created these groups, I didn't want it to just be this surface. Even now, I don't like to have surface level conversations. Even when I meet somebody like at a park, I'm like, tell me about your whole life. What happened when you were 5? People are like, what? But I really like to get to know people on a deep level. And I think that's part of like my human design too, if you're familiar with human design. And
yeah, what are you again?
I'm a generator.
That's right. We're the same.
Yeah, we're the same. So, but there's so much more there based on when you're born. And also like gene keys, there's so many cool things that you can learn more about yourself.
So many cool things.
So I just wanted to create something where women can come together. We can be vulnerable with each other. It's okay to cry. It's okay to have makeup running down your face, that you don't have to look a certain way, because most of the time we put on this mask because we do have to get out into the world, and maybe you have to go to work, or you have to go to a corporate job, or you have to show up in a certain way. And this is just a way to put down that mask and for everyone to be vulnerable and express and share whatever you want to share in the space. And then I bring in holistic practitioners, and that kind of came about because I have a holistic business and I know so many practitioners from all my years of networking. And I said, you know what, moms don't only need connection, but they need self-care tools. Like, what are you going to do when you leave here? And I used to work at a drug and alcohol recovery center, and I would teach these groups like about the journaling prompts and looking inward. So I kind of just combined that with my experience of knowing all these other amazing practitioners into the groups. And I said, I'm just going to send out a text and see who shows up. And that's kind of how it kind of transformed.
If you're loving this conversation as much as me, consider becoming a Raising Wild Hearts Plus subscriber. Your subscription will land you exclusive ad-free bonus episodes. Think behind-the-scenes conversations you won't hear anywhere else. Plus, you'll be supporting your favorite independent content creator. That's me, guys. There is so much that goes on behind the scenes of a podcast. By subscribing to Raising Wild Hearts Plus, your monthly subscription will help support the show so that I can keep creating amazing content for you. If you're ready to join, click the link in the show description. Can't wait to see you in there. All right, back to the show. I feel like the things that are meant to be in life, there's no pushing, there's no like striving. It just like you do it and it kind of just like everything falls into place. And that's what it sounds like, how your group just like fell into place. Like people were interested, there was a need for it. And you had the network of practitioners to come, and they were willing to come and they wanted to come. And you know, some phenomenal practitioners, like, oh my God, your classes they're so good. They're so good. So you mentioned wearing this like mask, like we have to play this role of like mother and wife and, you know, business owner and all these other roles that we play in our life. And it doesn't leave a lot of room for vulnerability, like generally speaking. I think you and me are anomalies in that at a party, we'll like find a corner and be like, tell me your deepest, darkest secrets. Everybody's like that, right?
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who like, maybe they know that they're wearing this mask, they know that they have this resistance to being vulnerable, and they know that they really want to let it down a little bit, and they really want to find this genuine community that's talking about deeper core issues and, you know, maybe some spirituality or something that's like really nourishing and connecting, not just like, what stroller do you have and what school does your kid go to? Although I could talk about school and education all day long. I know you could too.
Yeah.
But like, you know, some deeper questions of like, why are you the way you are? You know, what was your biggest challenge in life? What would, you know, like, what would you owe to your mom and dad, even if like they gave you a lot of hard stuff that they passed down, but what's like one great thing that they, you know, these questions that we all really can be reflecting on to be better versions of ourselves. What would you say to that person who's kind of resisting it, but knowing that they need it?
I think I would just ask more questions. I think, you know, I've really learned, because I am, at least I was when I was younger, this fixer, right? We all have these archetypes, and I would always want to heal people and fix people because that's what I needed. So I wanted to do it for other people. And I realize it's not the right thing. You know, even now before I give advice, I'm like, do you want feedback on that? Do you want advice? Because a lot of people just want to be heard. So I think the deeper you ask more questions about what they need and what they're looking for, then they can get the right support. And maybe it's, you know, my group, maybe it's something totally different, and you can point them in the right direction based on where they're at and what they need. So I would say that, just asking.
Yeah. Yeah. Being heard. I mean, there is something, I forget what it was now, even. I'm sure you could remind me, but I was like having a hard day the other day, and I was like voice memoing you going like, I'm just so overwhelmed. There's so many plates spinning in the air. And I don't even remember exactly what you sent back, but it was like, okay, I'm okay. Like, I'm good. I just needed to like reach out to somebody to let them know that I'm struggling. And you've had those moments too, I think, over the past couple of weeks, like with me, and I'm sure with your other women from your community too. And it's just so like, we don't need to even fix anything. You said you were the fixer. Like there's almost like nothing to fix. It's just like being heard and being witnessed is such the healing in itself. And I've said that on this show multiple times because these conversations are many times just like personally and profoundly healing for myself. Just talking through like some issues and some things and some gratitude even and just all the things. And so I think that is so valuable. And one of the things that you said recently is many of the women who attend your groups, they love like the sharing piece of it. They like the practitioners are amazing and there's so much wisdom and practicality to be gleaned from them. And we could all sit around in a circle and talk for 3 hours about life and work and relationships and parenting and all the things. And it still wouldn't be enough. I mean, we could all just sit there and share. And so there's this immense power, I think. What have you found as far as like that just sharing goes?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's beautiful. Like, we had our last mommy group until September a few weeks ago, and I had everyone go around and say what their favorite part of the group was, including the practitioners. And they all said, we like the practitioners, but we would just come for the talk. We just want to talk. We feel so seen. This is the only place where they feel non-judgmental. They're like, even with my best friend, they're like my best friend from childhood. Like, I don't feel like I could be this open with, which I got chills because I was like, really? Like your best friend? But I get it. You know, it's just a different place where there's really no judgment. I mean, I've seen every single person in the group cry. I've seen them laugh. I've seen them share things that they probably never shared with anybody else, whether it's about childhood or things going on in their marriage, you know, just really hard things that are really hard to talk about in, you know, regular everyday situations.
Yeah. Let's talk about rock bottom. Let's talk about the chaos and the mayhem and just like the wild nature that motherhood presents. And you were Buddha for 1 week, I know.
Yes.
And, you know, in that week, I'm sure everything was like maybe a little easier. You know, sometimes the stars align and we have like everything's just like really going smoothly. And then it's easier for us to like be Buddha and be very centered and calm. But let's talk about those weeks and days that are just really a struggle and how we can care for ourselves and then of course others in those seasons.
Yeah, I feel like when you're a mom, I mean, you know, there's no slowing down. There's no like, oh, this happened, this experience happened, and now I get to whatever it is. Like my mom passed away last year. There's really no time to actually grieve, right? It's just like you get right back into it. You go to the funeral, you're back to taking care of the kids, cooking, cleaning, going to work. It's just this like, there, you know, back in the day, you lived in a community. Oh, you go take care of the kids. You make the coffee. I'll make the food. I'll work. Like it's so nice to have that. And we don't have that in this culture. And as much as I would love to live in a little eco village with everyone, it's not realistic. So we have to do what we can now. And the week I was Buddha, it was because of more self-care. And it was the hardest week because both my kids were having the craziest meltdowns of their lives, but I was able to handle it well. But when you're going through something such as grief or you know, your kid goes to the hospital or something else happens that's really hard and you don't get any sleep or any self-care, it's harder to be on point, you know, to really just show up 100%. It really is. So in those moments, what I have really learned is I used to think it had to look a certain way. You wake up earlier, you do this nice yoga meditation, which sounds great. And you know, right now in my life in this time, because my son wakes up early, it doesn't happen. So I fit it in when I can. Like before I was just playing with my son and I was like doing yoga while playing with him. He didn't know I was doing yoga, but I was doing yoga. So I think wherever we can fit in a little workout, or like sometimes I just do this thing where I put my hands over my my ears, if you want to do it with me.
Yeah,
And
totally.
you just go bzzz, and it really helps just regulate your nervous system. I do it with my daughter. Like I'll start doing it and it feels so good. And it really only just takes, you could do it for a few seconds or a minute, and that kind of just regulates me. Any really vagal toning exercises, deep breaths. Sometimes I just shake, like in Kundalini, you just shake it off. My daughter thinks I'm so crazy, but then she starts laughing, and then like sometimes her tantrum will end just because of movement.
Yeah.
So it's these little things that we have the tools for it, which is in the mom groups, what I like to teach the moms, like, hey, there are these little tools and every day isn't going to be perfect. You might not get an hour of workout in every day, and that's okay. It's how can we handle our experience and not resist. I think I was talking to you about that the other day. A lot of the times we resist the experience. Oh no, my son is melting down. He's crying. This is so frustrating and annoying. And you resist it, and that creates suffering. So how can we get out of that suffering? And that's by having these tools and being like, okay, I'm in this experience. I can either be chaotic inside with this experience, or I can shift my nervous system.
Yeah. Yeah. So that covering kind of are you covering your ears when you're
covering your ears?
You're
Totally.
covering your ears, and then you're kind of like humming or buzzing.
Buzzing.
That's that's a vagus nerve reset. Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. And the vagus nerve, for people who don't know, I'm going to explain it, and then you please, as a practitioner, add in more. But it's really fascinating. You have this, your spinal cord, right? Attaches to your brain, but then it goes down your entire body, and it's got these smaller kind of web-like systems that go throughout your entire body. And I know that's not the vagus nerve, but anyway, that's your central nervous system. And it's attached to your head and to your brain, and it gives your body messages, and then your body gives it back messages. I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg. Maybe you do. But when you calm that, you're actually able to show up calmer. And simple exercises like that one, it really does do a reset. So it's not thinking your way through a reset of, I need to be more calm now, or, oh, what could I do to da da da, or how can I solve this problem? It's actually like a body thing is what I'm getting at. It's a felt experience in your body. And when your body feels safe, then you're able to get to that prefrontal cortex and actually solve a problem, do the next action that needs to be taken. What would you add to that?
Right. Well, the thing is, when you go from 0 to 10 so quickly, it's because your nervous system, or your vagus nerve, however you want to say it, is totally off or depleted. However, it's like you said, you hit rock bottom at that point, and there's like no going back. At least for me, when I get to that point, I'm like, I'm out, So if we can have these little tools and awareness and just do it in the moment, it really helps. And there's other exercises, even like putting like an ice pack on your chest actually helps with the vagus nerve. Ooh. There's ear exercises. If you go on like YouTube and type in vagus toning, vagal nerve toning, like you do these little things in your ear, like this special massage that helps. For me, I just like to do the things that work the fastest. So for me, it's breaths, it's shaking, and it's this. That's what I notice works for me. Yeah. So I think every single person, it's going to be something different, and something that they can say, okay, I'm having this reaction in my body, and what can I do now to calm myself? And whatever works for that person is what they should be doing. And that could be their nudge, or maybe like, if their husband's home, or, if friend's over, like they can have somebody like support them with that, if in the beginning, at least, until they get the awareness down to be able to do that. Or even like what we were saying, even just being able to text a friend and saying, hey, I'm going through this right now. And the other day I was having a really hard time, and my husband was home, and I said, I need to step outside. I can't handle the crying anymore. Even though I was doing everything I knew, it just wasn't working, because it was going on for like, I think it was like the third hour. I was like, I cannot. So I went outside, I grounded my feet. I was only out there for maybe 3 minutes, and I took deep breaths, and I came back, and my daughter said, oh, you don't look stressed anymore. So it does work.
Your daughter is very, very perceptive. I swear, she's an old soul. She's like such a mirror and such an old soul for you. Do you feel that same way?
Oh yeah. I mean, she talks to me about crazy, like her past lives. Like she was telling me the other day about a past life. And I mean, I don't know if she makes this up or not, but either way, it's just listening to her is very entertaining.
God, even if she makes it up, it's so creative and imaginative. Yeah. I'm like, great. I think it's so cool. And that connection to like, she's still so connected to God. She's 6, right?
Yeah.
She's still like there. My girls are 8 and 10 now, and I see them and watch them like they're not in that space anymore. They're not in that in between space. Like they're here, they're all them. I mean, not that they're completely, baked or, complete works of art yet. They're still in process, but that, subconscious programming, space between 0 and 7, like that's gone. And it's like, oh my gosh. But so little kids are just so fun to watch. And I love still watching Nash, be in that space. Like I love that I got to try again too, because I learned so much between the first kid and then the second kid. And then that big gap that I had between the second and the third kid, there was so much learning. And actually I said for my third kid, I'm not doing anything. I'm not lifting a finger. I'm going to be playing mantra all day, like for my fourth trimester. And actually his postpartum and my postpartum experience with him was the most relaxed. I really didn't lift a finger. I really allowed myself to be doted on. And at that point, my husband had some more flexibility where he was able to take an extended leave. I want to say he took 2 weeks off, which for our culture is big. And for our family is big because he didn't even take, I don't even think a day off with our first. And so much changed between that first and that third for me. Yes. Anyway. So I wanted to kind of meander now into this education space because of, learning so much for me. And I think I asked you one time, and you tell me your experience of this, but I asked you one time, oh my God, how did you learn all these different holistic health, routes to go? And how did you learn what to do for them as far as the pediatrician and the chiropractor and the natural health practitioners? How did you know all that? And you said to me something well, I was already in the holistic health field before I had my kids. And so it was a really easy transition for you. For me, it was I had my kids and then I had to discern what's for me, what's for our family. Do we want to, dare I say, vaccinate? Do we want to, bring them to these wellness checkups? What are these really for? Do we want an alternative health practitioner on call? What do we really want? And what kind of school do we want to send them to? What do we want their educational experience to be? And all the other decisions that we have to make when we become moms. And as we continue to go through this, process of our kids getting older and us being in a different season of parenthood just by the age of our kids changing. So you already knew so much going in. How did you get involved and how did you at first really educate yourself? And then how has that helped you throughout motherhood too?
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say is I do believe that beliefs can change. So I say that because sometimes we get so caught up in this belief, for example, I only want this school for my kid, or I only want this holistic thing, or, or maybe oh, they are going to go to the doctor for every wellness checkup. And, and then you have your kid and things might change, right? And you might, what you said, research something and you're wait, that kind of resonates more. So I think it's really this knowing, right? It's really being intentional and following what we already know. We already all have this knowing inside of us of what is right, but it's so easy to get caught up in what social media is saying or get caught up in what the pediatrician says, this is what you have to do, or, or whatever it is, instead of just listening to that knowing or even just asking questions. I was just at the hospital with my son and they wanted to, they're giving him IVs. I said, okay, well, what's in that IV? Is there electrolytes? What kind of electrolytes? They thought I was crazy, but I really want to know what's going on. We're our children's biggest advocate. Yep. We're ourselves biggest advocate, but really they're little people who can't speak up or know anything about this. So if I'm going to put something in their bodies, I want to know exactly what you're putting in their bodies, right? So I think it's really just getting educated, and it could be overwhelming. Even in my mom WhatsApp group, right? People are asking questions, people are giving all sorts of answers and advice, and that's great. And I think information can be powerful, but I think there's this also information overload. So I really like to go back to listening to our intuition, like getting all the facts. Like before I had my daughter, I was like, I want to have a home birth. I want to do it this way, and I don't want to go to hospital. And my husband was like, "What?" And I'm like, "I don't want to get ultrasounds. I don't want to vaccinate my children." He's like, "What? You're crazy." And then I like took him to all these talks and got him educated. And guess what? His belief changed, and he was crazier than I was. He's like, "Wait, you're going for an ultrasound?" So it was really interesting to see that shift even with him. And I think that that's the thing. And education is powerful. It is, but I think at the end of the day, we really need to do our own research and follow what feels best for us. And I think every mom is doing the best that they can because they want to do the best for their kid. So I have no judgment. Like if somebody wants to go to every well visit and go to the pediatrician and do whatever they want to do with their kid, like they're doing the best because that's what they think is the best. But I think we have to get more empowered by asking better questions.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought it to that place, like that discernment place, because I have written here discernment. And that's what I heard you say. Like I heard you say, find out what's right for you, find out what's right for your family, find out the decisions that you really want to make. And I want to emphasize this. And it's something that I am really just like naturally good at, probably because I'm just like a rebel at heart, but I'm really good at being like, well, I get to choose what I do. Like just because so-and-so says this doesn't mean I have to do that. Just because 99% of people in culture do this doesn't mean I have to do that. Just because, a ridiculous percentage of 9 and 10-year-olds have cell phones doesn't mean I need to do that. And on and on and on and on. Right. And so I want to remind everybody here with us today, like you get to choose everything for your family, no matter what you perceive is, being given to you, no matter what offers and guidelines are being recommended, they're offers and guidelines. You do not have to accept anything for your kids, from the school lunch to the routine wellness vaccine appointments that they go to their pediatrician for, like, and so many more things too, right? They're just there as guidelines, and you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do for your family that doesn't feel right. And a question that I asked you before, and a question that I always ask myself, and I've said on this podcast before, is this decision coming from fear, or is this decision coming from love? And I would invite everybody here to ask themselves, simply like, am I making this decision based on fear or love with anything in your life? And as you practice it, I think it becomes a little easier to become aware of the pattern that you might be getting stuck in, right?
Yeah, 100%. I know you just asked me that earlier this week because of my indecision of if I'm going to homeschool or not. And it's such a good question because it is true. It's like, well, is it because I fear this traditional system, or is it because I want to spend more time with her and all of that? So is it coming from a place of love or fear? And yeah, there's lots of spiritual books that talk about that too. So it's just really great to have reminders of those questions because it's easy to forget.
It is easy to forget. Just this morning, I was having an experience with one of my kiddos who I perceive just like wants to go back to homeschooling now that we're talking about homeschooling. And I said to my husband, I know this sounds crazy, but how could we homeschool again? And he's like, okay, well, I don't have the capacity for this particular conversation at this time. So it's 8:30 in the morning. Everybody's trying to get out the door for work and school and the various activities that we all have going on. And I'm like, okay, got it. Got it. It's not a good time to talk about it. But what I realized after doing a little bit of reflecting, after having some space by myself, was that it was coming from fear. And I was watching her have an emotional experience that I perceived to be something like sadness. And I immediately went, how can I fix this? What decision do I need to make? Oh my God, what? She can't be sad. She's not thriving. And I got in this space, this little hamster in my head around on this wheel going, how can I fix this right fucking now? I'm going to burn it all goddamn down, and I'm going to fucking make a new life for everybody in 30 seconds, you know? And I do that. And even though I have like the awareness, I still do it. And I went like, okay, there you are again, like doing that thing. We're not going to change everybody's lives in 45 seconds. We're not going to, pull the kids from the camp and the school and the this and the that we've signed enrollment agreements for and that we've gone through the due diligence to choose and intentionally, create. But it feels like that in those moments. And again, which I think comes back to this self-care piece, this caring for our nervous systems. Because what I allowed myself to do was get into this really ungrounded, really kind of panicked place. And my body was sending my brain signals of like, this is not safe right now. What if your kid doesn't thrive? I mean, what if she's not okay? What if this is going to make her try drugs and alcohol when she's 17? I mean, I go to these places that are honestly like kind of ridiculous, but in the moment they feel so effing real.
Yeah.
Like,
I could totally relate to that.
Yeah. When you're in those spaces, like that we all get in, right? How are you? I mean, I know you're doing like, the Vegas stuff, the nervous system reset, but let's say it's just a day where it's like, you're just not doing it and you're just having a hard time. Like, are you a yeller? You said you're a fixer, and like, what can we share for solidarity for the people listening who are like, oh my God, I'm a yeller, I'm a grounder, I'm an overreactor, I'm a punisher. And we have these things that we get into that really hurt the relationships with our kids and, don't really do anybody justice. So let's talk a little bit about that and mom guilt and the places that we go from our default programs that really don't serve freaking anybody.
Yeah, when I yell, I feel so guilty, which I'm sure everyone does, but I do. I've gotten so much better. I took a conscious parenting course a couple years ago. I was having a really hard time with my daughter and her meltdowns and not listening, and and also the dynamic between my husband and I was very different. Like he's more disciplinarian and do what I say kind of person, and I'm like, no, we need to listen. And it's kind of there was almost an imbalance, if that makes sense, of too gentle and too stern, and she was trying to push boundaries. And so yeah, after I took this conscious parenting course, it really worked on me again. It all comes back to us, right? And our own triggers. And there are days where I do, no grounding and there's just no time for it. Every day looks different. Some days are more house related. Some days are more kid related, work related, more self-care related. But what I've noticed, it's really about for me anyway, about the awareness. So understanding that before the age of 7, their prefrontal cortex is not developed. So they are going to have meltdowns. They're going to have big feelings, and that's okay. And I think if you don't understand that, you really do believe that they should just listen and they should just do whatever you say. But even when you tell a kid something 3 times, you might think they're ignoring you, but they're not. It just might take them longer to be able to process that. So me understanding that has really shifted so many things, because I'm able to, when my daughter's having a crazy reaction, I know her so well. I'm like, okay, she's probably hungry. Her blood sugar's probably low. She's probably overstimulated from school, which is interesting, right? Because we're talking about the homeschooling. And for me, I it's so hard for me to know if it's from fear or from love, because she is overstimulated, but she loves it. So it's a different situation. She's thriving and doing so well in school. But for me, I'm I want her to have a different lifestyle. I want it to be slower. I want her nervous system to be regulated. I want her to spend more time with her brother. So I think it's, in those moments where we're really going from 0 to 10, it's so easy, at least for me, to just yell. But when I can actually just take a moment and take a deep breath and remind myself that they're having big feelings, and when I have more big feelings, it lasts way longer.
Yeah.
So, like I said, stepping outside for a second, or even stepping away, I've had moments where I've like, pushed my daughter because she's like in my space when I'm having like, when I can't regulate myself. And it's not what I want to do, but I will tell her like, I need space and she won't give it to me. And then those things happen. And listen, we're parents, it's going to happen. And I
You're
think the
like, back
biggest
the
thing,
fuck up, bitch. I'm just
yeah,
kidding. I'm just, I know you would never say that to your kid. And neither would I, but we have to laugh about it because
Mhm.
inside, that's what our bodies are saying. Our bodies are
Mhm.
going back the fuck up. I need some space. I'm
Yeah.
feeling really unsafe. Like, yeah, and they're like these tiny little humans, yet they feel like such a threat. Like
Mhm.
when my toddler's down on the ground, same thing. I'm just like, oh my, like the alarm system goes off inside our freaking bodies. And then there are times when we do stuff that's like, well, that wasn't my finest moment. And kind of like shaking off that guilt, like having that self compassion piece. So, like, how do you bring it back to
Yeah.
that? How do you bring it
I
back
think
to that?
repair is
Yeah.
huge. Repair with yourself, but repair with them. So every time after I yell, once I'm calm, because I don't say it, if I say it, like even she even knows, it's so crazy how she's this little person. But like if I try to talk to her and I'm stressed, she's like, you're still stressed. I can't talk to you right now. I know that
Feels
you're,
the energetics.
she
She
feels the
feels
energy
the energy.
so deep, I mean, so do I, but she's in this little body, so she feels it even more than I do. And
Yeah.
so I wait till I get really calm and I say, I yelled earlier and that must have felt really bad for you. How did that feel for you? And then where did you feel it in your body? And I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have yelled. Mommy has big feelings like you have. And, I love you no matter what. And, so I just try to do those things very often so that she knows that I'm human, she's human. Of course, she uses it against me. She'll say, you're not working on yourself like you said you were. Or,
You said you would try better, mom, and
you
you're
would try
not.
better, or I'm having big feelings now, and you said I'm allowed to have big feelings, but why are you upset when I'm too loud? Because sometimes I get overstimulated because she's a
Yeah.
very loud. Like, can
Yeah.
you lower your voice? She's like, "Ah, but I'm having my big feelings, my big emotions. So yeah, we can say stuff, but they will always turn it against you. But that's okay. But I think repair and then being gentle with yourself, knowing that you're human. And I think if we're on this path or you're listening to this podcast, you want to do better. You want to do better for yourself or for your family. So, my husband always says, why can't you just get over it? Like it happened. It's over. It's kind of like what we said with the experience. It's like we're creating more suffering for ourselves. And they're going to bed and she's not thinking about it again. You know, I know sometimes when that happens, I'll try to repair it like 5 times. She's like, Mom, you talked to me about this 5 times already. Like, it's over. It happened. It's done.
Yeah.
So they can sometimes also be our biggest teacher, right? So that's another good point.
For sure. So I had an experience the other night where it was like bedtime. I don't know about you, but like bedtime is like when I've just like hit my limit. Like everybody needs to go to
Mhm.
bed on the minute that they're scheduled to go to bed. We have a bedtime rollout in our house. Everybody's three different ages. So they go to bed at three freaking times because we might as well make things way more complicated for ourselves than we already have it. And so like those minutes when they're supposed to be up in bed and reading and kind of like set up for the night, I just like, I know that I'm not done yet, but sometimes like the switch just like turns off and I'm like, and I'm done. And so if there's anything like extra that needs to happen at night, I'm just like, I have a kind of a short rope by that point in the day. And the other night, one of my kids like really needed me. She was having some issues and she like didn't feel good. There was like a headache involved and we were trying to like figure it out and then she started to feel like anxious and so her belly started hurting and it was this like cascade of like symptoms and she was like very worried and kind of getting herself in a tizzy and I could feel myself like walking into her tizzy like with her. Like she's a little tornado and I just like walked in with her. I'm like, let me get crazy with you. And I did. And I like, just wasn't like yelling, but I was like trying to like talk her off the ledge. And as I'm trying to talk her off the ledge of like, you're fine, everything's okay. I'm like rationally trying to tell this person to calm down who's just not calm in their bodies yet. And I let everything I know out the window, like the breathing, the reset, all of it. And so, finally, after like a 45-minute song and dance, she, went into bed. And, I said something like, if you get up again, there's going to be like a consequence. Like, you're not going to be able to do XYZ. And so she stayed in bed. She had a great sleep. But then the next morning, I said to my husband, I go, man, if I had a do-over, I would do that so differently. And here's what I would do. And it was very simple of what I would do. I would have taken her into my bed with me, and I would have just laid with her for 30 or 45 minutes for as long as she needed. And I would have hugged her and said, like, do you want tickles? Like, and I just would have just laid with her, just laid, not talked, not anything, just like been there, instead of trying to, like, again, resist it or make it not so, or make it hurry up, or make it go quicker. And so he was like, yeah, like, oh, okay. Like, okay, here she is again, talking my ear off, And so when my daughter got up, I said, hey, I want to let you know, last night, I know you weren't feeling well. I'm so sorry. If I could do that over, here's what I would do. I would have had you come and lay in bed with me for 30 minutes or 45 minutes until you felt calm enough to go to sleep. And that's it. Next time I'll try better. And she's like, okay. And so, it doesn't, my point is that we don't have to give our power away to them. We're not telling them, oh, it's okay, you're the boss. Like, it's not that. Like, repair is very much like, I'm a human, you're a human. I made, a bad choice in the face of you making some bad choices. And like, this is how I would have done it differently. And like, I don't even think I said, I'm sorry. I just said, if I could do it over, this is what I would do. And she was
I
like,
like
yeah.
that.
And it was very short, and it was simple. And the energy between us just like instantly, it was just fine. It just cleared the air. It was just much lighter. And I have a feeling there's many more years and years and years to come of that type of stuff. My kids are on the cusp. My oldest is on the cusp of adolescence.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not going to change when it gets to that point.
I don't think it gets easier, right? I mean, you have kids that are age 3 to 10, and I think at every stage there's challenges, but I don't think it gets easier. I think us as people and parents, we learn and we grow and we continue and we fall back into our old patterns, and then we learn and we grow. And it's just this constant ripple effect and this constant cycle. At least that's what I notice for me. It's like, I'll be like, oh, I'm doing so good. Like I said, the week of Buddha. And then all of a sudden you fall back into those old patterns or old programming, whether it's from lack of self-care, lack of awareness, lack of sleep, or you just get really triggered. I mean, it's going to happen. We get overstimulated. And yeah, I think it's what you said. It's like about what you said, like learning, like, okay, now I'll do it different next time. Sometimes even when I'm in it, I don't know about you, I'll even say like, okay, I'm like screaming or like yelling. And in my voice, that little voice we all have, it'll say, why are you doing this? Like, just lay with her. Because I do the same thing at bed. Please go to bed. She tries to push out the routine for like an hour. I'm like, please, I'm so tired. She's like, oh, you're so tired. I'm not tired. I'm like, go play with your stuffies. Like, leave me alone. But then it's just like, why are we resisting? Why can't we lay there another 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Like, why? So I think that's a good question to just keep asking ourselves why. And maybe if we can just soften a little bit, everything will become easier.
Yeah. It's so much in the questions too, which we've hinted at throughout this whole entire conversation, is like, just life is in the questions, not even in the answers. Like, what is preventing me from wanting to lay here and be present with my kid? For me, I know it's my mental processes that are saying some imaginary future is better than this one. And it's like,
100%. That's all it is. That's all it ever is. It's us either thinking about the past, which is why we get triggered, or it's thinking about the future where we want to be. And then we don't want to be there. It's the same why we scroll on our phones. Like, I notice it all the time. I'll be with my son, like we'll be playing, and like then I just go on my phone and I don't even know why.
Yep.
And it's literally, and then I'll be like, why am I even doing this? Like, what am I even looking at? So it's just coming back to that awareness and that presence. And it's not easy. It's really not easy.
Yeah. So we've hinted at it a couple times in this interview. Should we touch on balancing relationship with a spouse, particularly a husband, as we're raising children in the way that we're raising them, and, maybe making some different choices that are education related or medically related, or, just we're kind of swimming upstream, so to speak, I think a little bit. Um, in the choices, or that's how I feel. I don't know if that's how you feel, but in so many ways, I feel like many of the choices we've made that we're just like a little weird. Like we're the weird ones on the block, and like that's okay. But so how do we balance the relationship with our husband and like letting that person in our lives know that we've like done our due diligence, we've done the research, we've educated ourselves, and we know like what we're talking about in this realm of like child rearing, versus also and or I guess alongside letting our men show up as the leaders of the house, letting them be these providers and protectors and leaders. Do you have anything to share on that front?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things here, right? I think, at least in my situation, because all I could talk about is my own experience, my husband, like, I become kind of this, even though I'm allowed to yell or I'm allowed to do it, and he's always on my side. But if he disciplines the kids or yells at them or puts them in the corner, which I don't believe in, like if my beliefs don't align with his, then I get very mad. But what I've really learned is I can't get mad at him in front of the kids because it shows that we're divided. And I've done that way too many times. So that's something I am consistently working on because it gets us fighting so much. And then our kids see that and they try to, what's the word? Like, conquer that. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to get on, mommy's side and cry because she's going to feel bad for me kind of thing. I mean, I even see it now with my 2-year-old, which is crazy. He's only 2, they pick things up so quick. So I think that that's the first thing, is just being on the same team. And in regards to education, at least for my husband, like even with, for example, the home birth, the vaccines, and now with homeschooling, he needs an outside resource. Like I can do all my research and send it to him and say, watch this video, watch this. But he's like, what? I'm like, okay, this is just her. She's a little out there. But if I take him with me to a class, like we're actually going to be talking to a homeschool consultant on, at the end of the month about homeschooling, because even though I honestly don't think we need to like spend the money on that, but for him, he hasn't done the research. He doesn't know. So he wants to ask all the questions about what that would look like and if it would be the best for her, which is understandable because of the situation we're in. So I think if it depends on your husband, right? It depends if they're really open to what you have to say, then sit down and make a plan together. And I think that's really important, being able to make a plan together. And even if you have differences, like what that would look like. Like even when you're fighting, like now we have actually a special word that we say, or like, because I used to say like when he would yell, I would say his name and he would get so mad, like thinking I was going against him. When I wasn't, I was just trying to calm him down. So now I have to say something different. So we kind of went through that. So I think it's the constant communication as well, like being in constant communication.
Totally. Yeah, we have to be on the same page, my husband and I. And he's to the other side of the spectrum where, and every other husband probably lands somewhere between this, where he's like, okay, you've done your research. One thing off my plate. I trust you. Let's do this thing. Like he's been very trusting with me. And that's been lovely for me, because I think if I had someone questioning me or asking for resources all the time, I'd be like, listen, man, it's just trust me. Like, I don't know, like my personality, that would frustrate me. And so like, truly, I think we're probably a pretty good match in that respect, because like, I don't want to be questioned and he doesn't want to do like extra research and he trusts me.
Awesome.
So it works out really well. So I think there's probably like, so he's like very, relaxed, but there are a couple things that he did and has like throughout our relationship with the kids, one of them being our son's name. And he just like drew this line in the sand of like, there's no other way here. And I was like, well, what about? And he's like, there's just no other way. There's no changing my mind. And so he does have a couple small things that he's felt really strongly on. But honestly, I was like, okay, you know what? You've been pretty flexible. Like I can give you this, like this thing that's really important to you. Like, okay, I guess we can do that. As far as like naming our son Nathaniel, like he's Nathaniel the 5th and my husband is Nathaniel the 4th. And so he wanted to pass down that name. And I was just like, but do we have to? And he's like, Yes, we do. Anyway, so yes, I think that's a great point. Something my husband and I do, again, like not certainly not like we will have a disagreement in front of the kids and we'll make sure to try and repair that disagreement or at least come to a solution with that disagreement in front of them as well. So the disagreement happens and we don't go behind closed doors and try to solve it if our kids are already there. We try and solve it in front of them so they can hear the repair or like the resolution. So they're not left wondering like what's going on with mom and dad. Um yeah, and I think for me something I've been exploring is like these masculine and feminine dynamics. And something that I've said recently is the more I show up in a way that's feminine and flowing and allowing and surrendering, the more he steps up to this kind of like masculine leader with this like strong and firm kind of like way about him. And I can kind of be in this feminine place and it's not perfect and we don't always nail it. But I notice that it helps a lot with co-parenting. It helps a lot just with marriage dynamics and things like that. Um, marriage could be a whole nother like episode that we can and maybe we will cover. But do you have anything else to add to that?
It's a good question. No, I think what you said was perfect. I feel like the repair in front of the kids, we don't always, we will like hug after, like hours later in front of them because we get so heated. And that's something we're both working on, but we do tend to get very heated and then we'll scream and then we just can't be around each other.
Yeah.
And I really don't like that because that's, again, like an old pattern from my childhood. And I don't get as crazy as they did, but still, it's like not good for the kids to see that. So I really love that you said that because it's a good reminder to really try to like regulate your nervous system. And something that helps me is really understanding him more. Like, because he's not ever doing it out of a place to be mean. Like, he's doing it because he really thinks that's the best. Just like everyone is doing what they think is the best for their children. So that really helps me. It's like the mindset piece, right? I feel like that's everything. Like knowing, okay, he's not really he's not yelling at my daughter because he, is trying to upset her. Like he thinks that that was a wrong decision and he's trying to teach her in his own way, even though I don't agree with that way. So I think that that's really helpful. Like really trying to understand your partner and where they're coming from.
Yeah, love that. So great. So this conversation was amazing. We touched on community, we touched on self-care, we touched on education. Is there anything else that we may have forgotten about, Ashley, that you would add to kind of those three pillars as I see it of like this village mentality? I think those are really the pillars that we discussed. Is there anything that we're forgetting before we go?
I think the only other thing is just to let people know that balance doesn't have to look the same every day. I used to think it had to be this thing where I had a schedule every day and I worked out at this time and I had my meditation at this time. I think as long as you get some self-care every day, because that's going to make you the best you. So even if you spend 5 minutes in the morning before your kids wake up, meditating or having your cup of coffee or grounding your feet on the earth, and then at night, something I've been doing at night is I don't watch TV anymore. Only when my husband's home. I take that back. When he's home, he travels a lot, but when he's home, I do watch TV with him because that's a way that he relaxes. But for me, it's not. So I have a red light mask and I listen to a Joe Dispenza meditation where I do an Epsom salt foot bath. So those things really help relax me. And I just make sure that when I put the kids to bed, I have that time. And I think that that's why you and I always want to leave the room because we're like, oh, it's our self-care time. Yay. But just remembering that we're going to get to that self-care time either way. So it's all good. But just knowing that it doesn't have to look the same every day and just being gentle with yourself and whatever time you can fit in, even if it's when playing with the kids. Like when my son's on the swing, I do some squats, whatever you could do. It's going to look different while your kids are young or while you're managing a house and work and everything else.
Yeah. That's such a great point. When my kids were your kids' ages, there was no way that I would have been waking up at 5 a.m. In fact, I think I tried for a little bit. My kids are a teeny bit. My big kids are a little bit closer in age than yours, just a bit. But there was no way that I could wake up at 5 a.m. and do a meditation and go for a walk or do that. Like there was just, maybe there was a way, but there just wasn't in that season. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so it looked different for me then, but I love that you're saying that it doesn't have to look a certain way, because I think so many of us are like recovering perfectionists. We're trying to not have it to be like all or nothing. And we really need to understand that there's like a sacred third way. There's not only ever two options. Like we always have choices. And when we're aware of like, my shoulders are tense today, or my jaw is feeling like tight, or my neck is this, or, you know, wherever the places in our body where we carry stress, we can take, like you said, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes to really just check in with the body, care for her, and then we can show up in a way that's best for us. And then, of course, that's best for our kids too. And that's the whole thing about changing the world by starting at home, is when we take care of ourselves, that ripple effect, like you said, really, really becomes real. And it's small and it's at home, but it's big. Like it seems like a small thing, but it's a big thing. So it's so important. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being who you are in the world. I'm going to ask you the quick rapid fire questions that I ask everybody at the end of the interview. And the first one is, what's bringing you joy today?
Well, I loved our conversation, so that's bringing me joy. And playing with my son earlier. That was awesome too.
Amazing. Me too. And what, if anything, are you reading right now?
Living Untethered. I just started that. And then The Soul of Discipline. So those are the two I'm reading.
Oh my God, I still have to put The Soul of Discipline on my list. And Living Untethered is like the one after Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I just started it. I'm only a couple pages in. I just actually started it yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then the last question I have for you is, who or what has taught you the most?
Oh, that's a good question. I think just life experiences. Every life experience has taught me something different about myself and about the world. So yeah, just continuing to have experiences, whether good or bad, they all teach you something.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Ashley.
Thank you.
You stuck around for the long haul today. That's amazing. If you have not signed up yet, become a Raising Wild Hearts Plus member. By joining today, you'll get exclusive ad-free episodes. These are real and raw conversations you won't hear anywhere else. Plus, I'll include you on my weekly Wednesday emails. Sometimes it's sweet, sometimes it's funny. It's always from the heart. I don't know about you, but I'm all for inbox inspiration. So let's keep this conversation going. Click the link in the description to join Raising Wild Hearts Plus now.